Character. Hi, Jay. I heard the Department of Education will be shut down. If so, do I have to pay back my loans? Peace. See y'all. And see. I'm just going to sip my tea before I answer this one. It's refreshing. White. Refreshing. Hey, all you lovely, rich, and melanated people. I'm Jay Stevens, and welcome to Rich Like My Melanin, where we make money moves that make sense. I break down money, investing, and saving in a way that's real and relatable, because securing the bag isn't just about working harder, it's about working smarter. Back by popular demand, this episode is all about client questions. Today, we're diving into some common questions I get from clients and their finances. We'll talk about cutting money from your budget and what's going on with student loans. So, 2 questions today. As a reminder, there are three ground rules for client questions. 1, I always change the names to protect the innocent. I am not a snitch, and the names are fictitious. Number 2, it is not wise to take financial advice in a vacuum. Please work with a certified financial advisor for personalized financial advice that considers the nuances of your life. And rule number 3, the advice I give in this video is for informational purposes only. It is not an endorsement for investments or products. Don't come for me if you make some rash decision based on 3 minutes of commentary in this YouTube video. All right, those are the rules. Let's get to it, starting with the first message. And y'all know I like to act, so I'm going to give a voice for this one. Hey, Jay, I got a new job. I get to work from home, and the corporate culture is so much better. But I had to take a $25,000 pay cut for the job. How can I cut that much from my budget? Signs and making that money, honey. And see. First of all, let me say congratulations on your new job. Your piece is priceless, so the right job is worth the pay cut. I know. $25,000 may seem like a lot, but it's absolutely doable. We're going to break this down step by step and turn that $25,000 into a reality. 25K, when you break it down, it's $2,083 a month or about $500 a week. So let's start by looking at the different categories in your budget to cut. First, we're looking at housing. This is often your biggest expense. Can you downsize? Can you find a roommate since you work remotely? Can you move into a less expensive side of town or country or the world? Like get the passport stamps, girl. Can you refinance your mortgage for a lower rate? Even a small percentage drop in your mortgage payment can save you thousands over the year. So if you want to refinance, which is the last one I just suggested for housing, I would say wait until later this year based on the timing of when this video is being recorded. I try to do evergreen material, but let's be real, sometimes things are time sensitive. Refinance during a recession, and we are heading into a recession. I say that because the feds will lower the interest rates, which means you can get a lower rate on your refinance, which saves a lot more money. I did it when during the pandemic in 2021. We weren't even in a recession as much as times are hard. I was able to refinance and secure a 2% interest rate for my mortgage, for both of my mortgages, actually, for 2 of them. Okay, next, transportation. You already have a win in this category because you don't have to drive to work every day. And it's lovely. See my office, honey. I like it. Let's see what else you can do in transportation. Are you driving a gas guzzler? And can you maybe cut back on that? Could you switch to a more fuel efficient car or consider public transportation when you do have to make trips, or Uber? Or you could also do Uber on the side. Can you reduce your car insurance premiums now that you are traveling less? So, little known fact, when you have car insurance, they sometimes base it off the mileage and the distance that you'll drive. So could you drop your car insurance by doing that, by updating them on what you actually drive each month? And that will lower your rates. Also, this might be a good time to consider leasing a car. So leasing a car tends to have lower payments. And that's because you have a limited number of miles to do on your lease before we'll start charging you fees if you go over the leasing mileage. So if you're not driving as much, it might be a good time to switch from owning a car to leasing a car And I know it's sometimes unconventional. I know sometimes people say don't ever rent a car or lease a car. You should always just buy one. But a car is a depreciating asset. So might as well lease it at times when it works. Next cost to consider in cutting down 25K. Childcare. You didn't mention whether you have young children or children that require childcare, but I am going to add this in here just in case you do, and for all the other listeners. Do you have family members or friends who provide childcare services? And if so, could your children stay with them? If your child is in private school, is this the time to consider public or charter schools that meet your, expectation of what's acceptable in the area? Last category we're going to look at is lifestyle. And lifestyle includes a lot. That's your food, your entertainment, your vacations, your spa days, all those things. I will never tell you to cut all lifestyle spending because it is impossible to maintain that for a long period of time. Like your peace is priceless, your joy is priceless. Don't cut out everything that makes you happy. That's just not a sustainable way to save money in the long run. We all have to eat and we are all worthy of joy. So again, don't make drastic changes and cuts thinking that's going to be something you can do for a long time. It's like going on a crash diet. It's going to crash, child. Don't do it. Instead of cutting it all out, let's just be smarter about it. So instead of eating out every day, can you do meal prep and use grocery store deals? Buy groceries on Tuesdays. I don't know why, but they just tend to have better deals on Tuesdays. I guess the weekend rush is over. Since you're working from home, that also gives you time to maybe do some bigger, larger meal prep for the week because you're not having to carry everything back and forth to the office. Could you do the fancy Keurig at home, like invest in one of those fancy Keurig coffee makers instead of having to go for coffee runs, especially since you're actually not leaving your house as much, so that reduces the temptation to go to Starbucks in the middle of the day. For entertainment, what subscriptions are you using and which ones can you cut? Are you paying for multiple streaming services? Are you paying for gym memberships you don't need? For spa days, when you want to treat yourself, consider using Groupon or Living Social for deals. And for vacations, you can go during off-season and non-peak times as well to save money. Overall, it's small steps, They said, how do you eat an elephant? Now, y'all see on this side, I'm an AKA, so I don't really refer to elephants much, but okay. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Minor changes make a big difference. And congrats again on the new job. All right, let's get to our next question, our last question for today's client question segments. Character. Hi, Jay. I heard the Department of Education will be shut down. If so, do I have to pay back my loans? Peace. Theo. And see. I'm just going to sip my tea before I answer this one. It's refreshing. Quite refreshing. Honestly, Theo, I don't feel like paying those raggedy student loans either. I feel like millennials, Gen X, we have had to deal with enough. Like, just give us free, get rid of these student loans. Having said that, I will not tell you to do something illegal or unethical. So yes, you should pay back your loans. Ugh, I know. Federal student loans are assets owned by the US government. Even if the Department of Education were to dissolve, just poof, gone. The government's obligation to collect those loans would still remain. They're going to get theirs, honey. They're going to get theirs one way or another. They are going to get theirs. It's highly probable that the federal government will just choose a different agency to collect student loans. Most likely the Department of Treasury or Doge. They would assume responsibility for servicing the loans. Speaking of student loans, let's talk about two other things that are going on that I see people are asking questions about. I didn't receive a specific question about this, but it's worth mentioning. IDRs and PSLFs. So IDRs, that stands for income-driven repayment plans. Those are plans that are designed to make it more affordable because your payments are based on how much you have as income. So every year or every few months, you report your income, and then they say, well, based on how much you're making, income here, this is how much we think you can pay and still be able to have like a normal life. Recent court rulings by you-know-who said that borrowers can no longer have the IDR plan. They're no longer accepting IDR applications. They have not said, and by they, I mean the feds, have not explained what's going to happen to people who are in current IDRs. So it's a lot of confusion there. And then PSLF. PSLF is Public Service Loan Forgiveness. Similar to IDR, it is the plan to encourage repayment in a way that's responsible. It is based on the fact that if you serve in public service, so if you're a firefighter, if you're a teacher, if you work for nonprofits, then you will have your loans forgiven after so many years of serving in a public service capacity role. In March 2025, Trump signed an executive order. That executive order has not been torn down or, sued or any lawsuit brought against it effectively yet. There's not been a judge ruling on it at the time of this taping. But in March 2025, Trump signed an executive order that aims to limit eligibility for PSLF. So he pretty much said, if you work for certain organizations, I don't care. I'm not going to give you PSLF. Now, no surprise what those organizations were. There were organizations that support human rights, immigration rights, climate change, and civil rights. So that means if you served in one of those areas, if you spent the past 15, 20 years of your career in there, and then you said, okay, now I'll get PSLF, my loans will be forgiven because I served 20 years helping this human rights organization or studying and fighting climate change, that no longer counts. And this is all things that are, changing, happening rapidly in real time. Regardless of your eligibility for IDR, income-driven repayment, or PSLF, public service loan forgiveness, I highly recommend downloading and printing a copy of your current student loan balance. That's right, we're taking it back to the 90s. Get things in print. Because when there is a change with student loans, with everything that's going on with Department of Ed, servicers lose files. Let me say that again. When there is a change with student loans, the servicers lose files. They're human. They make mistakes. It's not like they're trying to be, disorganized or anything. There's just a lot of information that needs to be transferred over. If you do not have your documentation, it becomes a he said, she said thing. So please print your documentation. It will save you thousands of dollars in misstatements and overpayments. I will also include the link in the comments to Student Loan Planner. They are an amazing organization that provides ethical and factual information about student loans so that you can really get the true information you need. With that, I will say, as I said before, let me get a sip of water, tea, coffee, whatever's in my class, in my mug, that's my business. That's it for today's video. Keep the questions rolling in, and I will continue to share advice. Make sure to subscribe and follow, and I'll see y'all in the next video.